Oh, I'll be honest with you. I love that video. I have seen that 8 times, I think, in the last 4 days, and it gets me every time. It's a very emotional, powerful video. But again, we're here with Kevin and Rachel Brandt, and you'll see their almost 2-year-old son, Eli, as well. And it's an honor to truly be your sending church, to be able to get behind you guys, not only financially, but through prayer and encouragement. So we're excited about this partnership and journey together. Just tell us a little bit, how long you've been at Grace, how you found Grace, and why Grace Chapel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we've been at Grace now for about 4 years, going on 4 years. We moved up here after college in 2015, and we're really looking for a home church community to get plugged into.
Yeah.
And took a little while, but Rachel was actually the one that ended up saying, hey, we should check out Grace Chapel. How'd you find it?
Yeah, I kept driving by Grace Chapel on my way to work out in Carlton, and I just kept telling Kevin, like, we'd left our community down in San Diego, our church, all of our friends, and we were having a hard time getting plugged, moving back up here to the Portland area. And one Sunday we came to Grace Chapel, just sitting down in the seats. Kevin went and grabbed some coffee. And Dina came up and she just said hi to me. And
Dina
it was
McDaniels.
Dina McDaniels, yeah. She said hi to me. And it was the first time that we had been at a church where someone came up and was like, hey, you guys are new here. Let's talk. Let's, hear your story, get to know you. And it made the biggest difference in us deciding to come to Grace Chapel.
Yeah, and I remember that day I think Mike was mentioning that there's a Taste of Grace coming up in the next week or two. And so, we ended up going to that. And I remember meeting up with Josh Weaver, and he was like, hey, we got a small group coming. You should come. I was like, cool. We need a small group. So yeah, it worked out really well.
Hospitality team made you feel welcome. Taste of Grace, and you ended up in a group. Powerful.
Yeah, it's been huge.
Grace Chapel. So I know you guys each have powerful but individual testimonies and just some different journeys as a believer to Christ. And so Rachel, just a little bit about just kind of your personal testimony.
Yeah. So growing up, I was greatly impacted by the faith of my grandparents and parents. They lived out their faith on a daily basis and just showed me what it looked like to live faithfully and be obedient through times of sorrow and joy. And so that really encouraged me in my own decision to follow Christ at a young age. And my parents were actually missionaries to Eastern Europe before I was born. And so I loved just getting to hear their stories, and they always encouraged us to travel and, get to experience new cultures. And so from my parents' love of traveling, I just, cultivated this huge passion for missions and got to participate on a couple of short-term mission trips throughout the U.S., as well as to Mexico and Ecuador and Southeast Asia. With one local organization, Forward Edge International.
Oh, yeah.
So I got to go on several trips with them. And I just loved seeing how God was using ordinary people for extraordinary purposes. So if it was like a gift for agriculture or, a passion for carpentry, like you could use those skills to help share the gospel wherever you were. And growing up, when I was 16 years old, my grandparents gifted me with my first flight lesson. So,
no way.
Yeah. So I was up in a little Cessna 150 over out of Chehalem and was doing stalls and spins over the Willamette Valley, and I was hooked, wanted to pursue aviation, and I had heard about how aviation was being used out on the missions field. Had read some books about some different pilots, missionary pilots, and that really influenced my decision to pursue flight training at a really small Christian college in San Diego.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what was that Christian college in San Diego?
San Diego Christian College.
Oh, well, there you go. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
that is a powerful story, just hearing just how in your own family, how it was modeled to you.
Yeah.
That's cool. How about for you, Kevin?
Yeah, so growing up, I was really self-driven. It was the big moment for me was when I was 16. I was a junior in high school, and I was full of anger, and I was really lost and mad at the world, sort of stuff. And I was usually trying to seek fulfillment and thrill-seeking, smoking, drinking, all the terrible things in life. And one time, my buddies and I decided it'd be a great idea if I jumped on a skateboard and held onto the side of his car. And for some reason, we thought 50 miles an hour sounded like a good idea. And so I wore a helmet, but convinced that I wasn't going to fall, I didn't strap it. So I ended up waking up 18 days later, and my family started telling me kind of what had happened. And I guess around 45 miles an hour, I ended up falling, and my unfastened helmet flew off. My head smacked the pavement, and had a really bad brain injury, really bad head injury. And so I was medevaced to a hospital where in order to relieve the pressure that was crushing my brain inside my head, they had to take out a section of my skull. So you could say I woke up a little lightheaded. I love that one. But yeah, so I was really, lost. And as I was coming through recovery and starting to talk with people, and all the doctors kept saying, I don't know how you're alive right now. And I remember as I was starting to leave the hospital, we met with the doctor who'd been overseeing my case, and he said, it's remarkable that you're alive right now. Someone must be looking out for you. And so when I got home, I was really looking for answers, and being so desperate for something, I decided to visit a local church. And I just remember walking through the doors before anyone spoke to me, anyone even looked at me. I just felt loved. And it was just a very transformational moment. And the pastor was speaking from Ecclesiastes that night, super motivational book. But when he read of there being a time for everything, something about that really just changed my perspective. And I gave my life to Christ that night. And then as I was filled in more on the stories of what happened, I really got a desire to serve people and help people in their times of need, just as so many had done for me. And so went on a short-term mission trip the following summer, and when we came back, my youth pastor asked me, he's like, so what are you going to do with your life? And I was like, well, I'd like to be a medevac pilot, but that this whole missions thing was really cool, and I'd really like to involve that somehow, but I don't know what that looks like. And he just looks at me and he goes, well, you thought about being a missionary pilot? And I was like, they have that? So I went home and found a small Christian college in San Diego. And
That's San Diego Christian, right?
That's correct, yep.
That's good. Kevin shared a little bit of just about some physical things that he overcame, and we were having lunch earlier this week, and it really struck your courage and vulnerability about some of the things maybe emotional that you've had to overcome, and maybe with some fear and or anxiety. Could you just share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So after we did all of our flight training in San Diego, got our private pilot, instrument rating, commercial license as well. And then after graduating, we were working on our certified flight instructor's rating, so teaching other people how to fly.
Okay.
And so Kevin had finished his CFI for short, and he was teaching students out of Aurora Airport, just south of Wilsonville. And I was working on trying to get my certified flight instructor's rating, because to join a missions organization, you need to gain experience, have a certain amount of hours. And so teaching other people how to fly is a great way to gain that experience. Yeah. And so throughout my training to become a CFI, I just encountered training delay after training delay after training delay, factors that were completely outside of my control. And it just led to me losing a lot of confidence in my own flying abilities. And I just was really struggling with anxiety and depression, and started having panic attacks inside the airplane. Oh, wow. And so it was devastating to reach this point where every time I got into the airplane, I would just freeze. And so after a lot of counsel and a lot of prayer with my family, and Kevin made the really difficult decision to step away from aviation. And And that was really hard. I had invested a lot of time and money into
Yeah.
becoming a missionary pilot. And this was something that I had dreamed about since I was little, and I felt like God had called me to do. And so throughout that time of just really struggling with depression and anxiety after making that decision to step away from aviation, I had nothing left. Like, all I had left was God, and I realized that I had placed a lot of my identity into becoming a missionary pilot.
Wow.
And so God was just showing me that that he can still use me. I don't need to place my identity in being a missionary pilot, but I need to place my identity in Christ and what he has done for me, not in what I'm doing. And so that took a lot of time to process through, a lot of communication, just working through that anxiety and that depression. But my hope is that, through my own story of working through that, of seeking counsel, of just really digging into the word, that, God can show others that even if you struggle with anxiety, even if you struggle with depression, that he is faithful to walk you through that, and that he's still going to use you. He still has a purpose for you. And all he wants is for you to be obedient and faithful, and just to continue to step out in faith and obedience and not let fear hide your faith. And so that's something that we've definitely learned over the last 5 years of having to walk through that. So I am not joining Mission Aviation Fellowship, MAF, the way I thought I was going to.
Sure.
I thought I was going to join as a pilot. I was not expecting to be married.
And now we have a kid.
And now we have a kid. So I'm joining as a wife. I'm joining as a mother. And it's definitely a different way than I thought I was going to be joining Mission Aviation Fellowship. But
that is so
Yeah.
good. Thank you for sharing that. There's a sermon in there. There is a definite sermon. That's really powerful. So you mentioned MAF. So of all the wonderful ways to engage and serve in this world, why, Kevin, was it MAF that you guys chose and got behind?
So a lot of it had to do with flying. At some point, I feel like everyone wants to fly. And so really getting that passion reinstilled in it after my accident, and finding out, how I can use such a specialized skill in a way to serve very remote and isolated people. There's a bunch of great other aviation organizations out there. The reason we decided to go with MAF, a lot of it just came down to MAF reaching out to us. There were a couple people that we now get to call coworkers, and that would reach out to us at just the right time and say, "Hey, Kevin, Rachel, how are you? How's this going? How's that going? Have you heard about this?" And it was all at these times that we were just really wondering, what does God have for us? And they just reached out, and it's been, I think a lot of it is that's what led to us going with MAF. So
Yeah, we're excited about the work that they're doing all around the world, and just using the incredible tool of aviation to help reach isolated people so that they can be physically and spiritually transformed. That's the heartbeat of MAF, and we're really excited to be part of this organization.
Oh, that's so good. So did you guys choose Indonesia, or did Indonesia choose you?
I think it'd be more the second. Indonesia chose us.
Okay.
So MAF is serving. MAF US is in 14 different countries.
Okay.
Globally, through different organizations, we serve in 34 countries with a little over 600 organizations. MAF has been in Indonesia since 1952, and so there's a lot of really established partnerships there. And so as we're going in with MAF, they have a candidate committee that, we talked about things, our skill sets and their needs. And it just, as through prayer and all that stuff, eventually they said, we think Indonesia would be a really good fit for you guys. And so we're like, awesome, let's go. How many islands?
That's cool. And, we'll talk about this just a little bit here in a second. I know that some training, some education, you guys need to continue to raise support. But as we trust God that all of those things will happen, what will a day look like for you in Indonesia, you as a pilot, but also the things that you'll be called into, because this is very much a team effort.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the flying portion, there's one centralized base, the one city that we'll be flying out of, and then we'll go into anywhere from 10 to 15, maybe 20 different villages, taking in supplies, doing medical evacuations, doctors, pastors. Taking in food, chickens, stuff like that. So yeah, there's another video with a pig that they're loading into the plane. It's like, wow, that's fun. So going into all these different places where people just need help. Like Rachel said, the physical and spiritual transformation. So that's kind of what the day will look like. It's gonna have to figure out how to be a good morning person. So. Just if you could be praying over that.
No, absolutely. How about for you, Rachel? What will your day look like?
Yeah, so I will be, raising our son Eli while we're in Indonesia, and then also just looking at different opportunities to get involved. So whether that's, with local women's groups, or they have a medical guest house that I can also be a part of. When villagers come and get medical attention, we help provide them a house and food, and help them in the city and things like that. So and also looking at the future, if there's ever a possibility to use my background in aviation, that could be a possibility in the future. So, but definitely in the meantime, supporting Kevin as a pilot, and then raising our son Eli, because he is a part of this journey just as much as we are. And we are so excited to encourage him in his own faith and his own walk with God. And excited that, we're hoping that he'll just get to be a part of this every single day, and that he'll see us walking in faith and obedience, and that will be an influence in his own life.
When you shared that at Qdoba on Tuesday over lunch, that was powerful, and that really encouraged to me. There is no better definition of family on a mission. You guys are going to Indonesia, and again today is about encouraging whatever the Lord has put on your heart. Okay, so can you guys update us where you currently are financially, what that ask is, and just kind of the time frame as you guys get ready to step into this?
Yeah, so we have our monthly support, and we have an outgoing expense.
Okay.
The monthly support that we need to raise before launching is $9,000 a month. And the outgoing expense is $60,000. So right now we're at 25% of our monthly support coming in, and halfway on the outgoing, which has been really cool to see. A lot of people wanting to come in and partner with us in this ministry. So the goal is to hopefully reach 100% funding around the fall time, so that I can go to some final training, standardization, flight stuff, and then we'd be launching, hopefully. The goal is beginning of next year. So
that's awesome that God's already being faithful there on that 30,000. And that $9,000 a month, that's a big monthly number. What are just a couple of the quick components that go into that?
Yeah, so the way MAF has it structured is that all couples raise the same amount, all individuals raise the same amount. So we're all couples are raising the same $9,000, whether they're in Indonesia, Mozambique, or here at headquarters in Idaho. And kind of the way that is structured to help keep us on the field and make us and the ministry successful is to help cover things like cost of living adjustments, healthcare, education, things like that, housing, housing. So that's how that's all factored in there.
Oh, awesome. Well, we're going to have some more information for you guys and just what to step into. I want to pray for you guys. Obviously, there's the financial support and just continuing to trust God to provide that. What is just something that, Rachel, we could just be praying for right now, above and beyond the financial?
Yeah, so we joined MAF just in January of this year.
Okay.
So we've been on this season of raising support for 14 weeks now. And so just continued obedience and just trusting in God. It's a little bit of a sine wave at times, like encouraged, feeling a little discouraged. So just, being able to continue to build relationships with people and share how God has been working in our lives, and just inviting them just to be part of our journey.
Oh, so good. And again, it's just an honor and a privilege for us as a church to come alongside you guys and partner with you guys. And I just want to pray to close our time. So thank you again for just giving us this opportunity today.
Thanks for having us.
Lord, I'm just thankful for the story of Kevin and Rachel and Eli, Lord, and just their obedience to trust you completely and just the faith that they're putting in you, Lord. And yes, there is the financial number that they need to get, and there's a timeline involved in that, Lord. And we completely surrender that to you, Lord. But the real powerful thing I know for me individually, and just that we pray for our church too, is as they step into Indonesia, what is it that you're asking Matt Taylor, all of us, to have that obedience and that faith to step into so that we can completely trust you? It takes all of us in all aspects of our world just to engage the world, to be the salt, to be the light, Lord. And again, we just commit this family to your protection, Lord, and just sustain them in this season, the time frame, and they would just be patient in this beautiful, powerful process. In your precious name, amen. All right, Grace Chapel, we have an awesome opportunity to really get behind this family. Yes, Grace Chapel is, but you are Grace Chapel. And I know for some of you, it will be prayer or letters of encouragement, but there is a financial ask here. It's going to take all of us. And for you, I would just love for you to really pray and potentially step into being a part of their financial team. The information's here. It's set up so you can go directly to the Brandt family link there and give. And this is an exciting opportunity to support and celebrate with this family that is stepping out in obedience and completely trusting God. So I hope you join us and as a part of their financial team. Again, thank you so much for being a part of this powerful morning. Have a great week. Walking with the King.